Welcome to Natural Habitat Adventures Daily Dose of Nature. Today's topic, Journey to the Land of the Snow Leopard, Part 2, presented by NatHab Expedition Leader Conan Dumenil. I'm your host, Rob Mess. Thank you all so much for being here with us today. Over to you, Conan.
Hey, thanks, Rob, and welcome to all our viewers who have joined us today. Today, we're going to be talking about this absolutely fantastic animal in this truly amazing landscape that we go out and look for them in. And if you're wondering what happened in part one, well, don't worry. We will do a quick recap with what I covered there and with more information for part two. So the snow leopard season, just to give you a quick orientation, it's about to kick off in a few weeks from now. And winters is the time where we go looking out for these snow leopards. And if you've already signed up for a trip or thinking about signing up for the trip, this is the perfect webinar for you to prepare yourselves. And if you want a little bit of extra convincing, should I sign up or not? Well, then this is it for you. Well, we've been running the snow leopard trip since 2022. Last year we've done a season. We're going to our third season now. We start in winter and finish in spring, and we've had some fantastic experiences. We've had a lot of people come in, and almost 100% track record of seeing snow leopards on each and every trip that we've done. And we were so excited when the 2022 season kicked off. I've been running those trips since then. And prior to that, I've been doing a lot of trips for NatHab in India, Nepal, and Bhutan. And the snow leopard trip is one of my favorite trips to go. And what I'd like to cover today for you folks is how best we can prepare for this trip and how we're going to have a lot of fun and experiencing this wonderful landscape. I think preparation is the key. And as a Scout's motto, be prepared. We will talk about various forms of that and what we're going to be seeing and what we're going to be doing on this particular trip where we venture into the land of the snow leopard. Now, this is a fantastic landscape in itself, and I will cover a very brief snapshot of what the landscape is all about. But this trip is unique also in many senses than others. First of all, for those of you who are familiar with how wildlife operations work in Africa and Asia, this trip is unique in the sense that we do not venture into any national park or protected area. We're out in the wilderness, we're out near rural areas, we're out near villages and towns even, and this is where we have the chance of seeing some of the best wildlife this region has to offer. And with that said, I'll give you a quick snapshot into the landscape and I would like to address before that some concerns or questions that you may have. And in case you have things flowing out in your mind saying, is this for me? Have I made the right choice? Have I booked this trip? Is it going to be too strenuous? Will I actually see snow leopards? What do I pack? And, are there other wildlife to be seen? So hopefully I'll be able to cover all of those questions of yours. If I do not, please submit your questions at the end of the session, and I'll be happy to answer them before we close the session for today. All right, so let's pull back a little bit. Let's start off with the bird's eye view. This trip takes place in the Himalayas, in the Trans-Himalaya even. And as you know, they are the highest mountain range in India and the world. And we head there in the middle of winter almost and stay there till spring. Looking for these magnificent animals, considered the world's most elusive cat, or one of the world's most elusive cats. And we do all these things that we're going to talk about. We do all of these things to increase our chances at seeing them. Now, Ladakh is a region that's nestled in the Himalayas. There's no flat land. It's all mountainous region. And we average about 11,500 feet. Is the average height at which we'll be staying in. So it is seriously high. And because of that altitude, you begin to feel a lot of things as well. Now, the temperature is between 5 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Now this you might say is kind of usual temperatures to some of the places where places where some of you might be staying in, but because of the altitude, you feel things a little bit more. And also the wilderness that we are in, there's the wind chill factor. There is our bodies coping with it, so you do feel it, and so which is why we take this really, really seriously. And if we move on to the itinerary, and if you look at this little snapshot that we go, it's a very simple itinerary, but we do spend the mandatory sort of 3 days acclimatizing not just to the landscape, but also to the culture and the time zones and the kind of movement of things, the cycle of things that happen in India. So it is a very simple itinerary, singular focused itinerary. We head out there to one of the best spots to see snow leopards in the wild anywhere in the world. We spend a good 5 days tracking these animals in a very, very comfortable wilderness lodge, and then we come back to Leh and then fly back to Delhi. So Delhi is the first and last port of call. It is a hub. It's one of our best transport hubs, and for all practical reasons, it makes sense to fly into Delhi. And when you fly into Delhi, we treat you to one of the best hotels that there is to offer. So you start and end your journey on a very, very comfortable note. And trust me, when you finish with the Snow Leopard Lodge and head back to Delhi, that beautiful tub and shower at the Oberoi Hotel is such a welcome relief to the whole trip. And you'll go back feeling light and accomplished by the end of it. It is an opulent hotel. It is very, very near the airport, and that's the choice. That's the reason of our choice. We meet in the Trident, Gurgaon. We have our orientation session. We run you through the course of action and the plan for the next few days. We stay the one night before we head off by flight to the town of Leh, which is the capital city of Ladakh. Now, a lot of you might have heard about Delhi Airport. Delhi is notorious for a lot of things. The airport crowd is also one of its characteristics, and it's a lovely cultural interaction if you want to look at it that way, and I think that's the best way to look at it. But it sort of gives you the first sort of feel of India with its masses and lots of people traveling for pleasure or business. The airport can get very, very crowded. Now, thankfully, you will have your expedition leader with you to guide you through the whole process and work out all the red tape and the marking tape there. And we have a breeze through Delhi Airport, which is why we need to get there 2 hours in time. And again, preparing yourself for this flight is important. So the more smartly you pack, the more efficiently you pack, the easier it is for us to go through this process. Now, don't worry about remembering all of this information. All of this will be sent to you in your pre-departure booklet, or you could speak to your adventure specialist about certain specifics as well. So just to give you we have one check-in luggage and one hand luggage. Of course, all your sensitive gear, camera gear, optics, all of that can be carried there. You will be asked to open it at security and show everything out. But again, do not worry. Your expedition leader is with you, and we will handhold you through this entire process. And once you get through the organized chaos that is Delhi Airport and security, our flight is a short flight and actually a very, very pleasant and scenic one. In about a few minutes, once you take off from Delhi, you'll start to see the Himalayas, and you'll see the different ranges from the foothills to the snow-clad peaks. And as we circle around Leh, waiting to land, you'll get a first glimpse onto these magnificent mountains and the Trans-Himalayan desert, really, which in winter, if you're traveling anytime between November to February, you'll see a lot of snow. And as we get from February to April, you will see snow on the higher peaks and more brown desert-like landscape down in the valleys, with the beautiful Indus River down below you and the monasteries that dot the many hillsides around Leh. Once we reach Leh, which is, like I mentioned, the capital city of this massive region of Ladakh, it is just a short drive from there to a lovely, comfortable hotel called the Grand Dragon. Now, Leh airport compared to Delhi is actually a breeze to get through. There are only 2 luggage belts and a handful of flights that come in the day. So you'll find this very, very easy getting through. And so once we're done with our arrival formalities, we pick up our luggage and we head to the airport. Now, at this point, I just want to pause and say, because this is often our first sort of view into what the landscape is. Now, Ladakh is a border region, and we share the border with China on one side and Pakistan on the other. And often the relations are not very, very pleasant. So it is a border that is heavily militarized, and you will see a lot of military presence in Ladakh. Now, it can be unsettling for a lot of people. For the first time coming in, you see, soldiers, trucks, convoys, helicopters, planes, everything around. But it is sort of a standard presence. The army maintains a very large presence here, and it is very common to see a lot of military around the area. It does not mean that the country is in a hostile situation. It's just the general standing army that is quite high here. So, and you will see this at many points along the trip as we drive along the highways and all of that. And again, thanks to the military, I must say that the road network is really good in Ladakh. The main highway is fabulous, and even if there's snowfall, it gets cleared out very easy because of the military movement that happens to be there. So it does have its perks, but it's just something I like to warn people about. If you see a lot of people, just that presence can be unsettling. So, yeah. So once we leave the airport, we head down to the lovely Grand Dragon Hotel. It is one of the best hotels in Leh, and we spend the first 2 nights here at the Grand Dragon. The first day is completely at leisure, and this is very important to let your body acclimatize. Even if you're someone that lives at an altitude, travel, jet lag, all of these can add up together. Lack of hydration, all of these can add up together, which doesn't do well for mountain sickness. So we need to acclimatize. We need to take that first day easy, eat well, hydrate well, and sleep well. And we will spend some time, we will meet together for meals, we will take the day easy, sort of unpack, get your bodies used to things, have good meals at the hotel here, which serve some fantastic buffets and to the table orders as well. And lots of ginger tea, which helps with the whole process of acclimatization, and we'll let our bodies soak in. So the first day, we really just meet, talk, get to know each other, and take care of ourselves. And the second day is when we start doing sort of short excursions around Leh. So Ladakh is predominantly a Buddhist landscape as well, and this excuse me, religion is really part of everyday life as well. So it's a great chance to see not only the art, but also experience some of the culture as well. And monasteries are central points of this religion, and also the cultural aspect as well. We have small SUVs which we will use to go around our excursions. Now, these vehicles are very comfortable. They work really well. They help us also modularly plan the whole thing. So in case someone is feeling sick and needs to head back, then we can do that without compromising anyone else in the group, or inconveniencing rather anyone else in the group. And these vehicles, the Innovas or the Cristas that we use there, are really fantastic at getting to places where we want, and they're super comfortable. The Toyotas, they very rarely break down, or it's almost unheard of, and they're the best vehicles for this landscape. So we will split up 2 or 3 to a vehicle. We will have a local guide with us that day. You'll have your EL with you, and of course we have a fantastic team of drivers and spotters who will be with us for the entire journey. So we use that first day to explore the landscape, drive up around a little bit, walk out, stretch our legs, just walk around a little bit, exert ourselves just a little bit, see how our bodies cope with that, and then take things as we go. So the plan is actually very flexible that day. We do a mix between monasteries, where we get to experience some of the beautiful art and architecture of the region. We will have the intricacies of Buddhism broken down and explained to us. And again, it's a fascinating subject and fascinating philosophy to get a sort of insight into. And while we visit all of these places, and then we go out and see some wildlife and experience nature as well. So after the first couple of days, on day 3 is when we head out to a lovely lodge in the village of Mangyu. Now, Mangyu is a village that has only about 60 households or so, and it sits off the river Indus into this narrow valley. And the valley, the reason why we use this lodge is not only is it the most comfortable place to stay in with facilities, really good facilities, I must add, but it's also one of the best places to see wildlife in the region. And we've been working with this lodge for several years now. It used to be a person's homestay, and thanks to one of the local organizations there, we've set it up, and it's now branded. It's now part of the branded Snow Leopard Lodge sort of chain that is there. We have 2 lodges that operate in the region, and we use Mangyu, and this is only I mean, it's sold as a private lodge. It's only a 5-room lodge, and we have it exclusively for our guests and for every single NatHab trip that comes into India to see snow leopards. So at the lodge, we have some wonderful facilities. We have a very warm and welcoming lounge and dining area. The rooms are bedded out, it's kitted out with heaters, and we have ensuite bathrooms as well. So each room, so like I said, there's only 5 rooms. Each room gets its own bathroom, and this is such a step up from how we used to see snow leopards in the past. Earlier, all of this was accessible only by a trek where we camped out in tents and used, well, a hole in the ground really, and some very, very basic homestays. But this is taking snow leopard viewing to a different level. So not only do we have some of the best wildlife or some of the most elusive wildlife to see, but we also do it in style and with some luxury as well. So very comfortable rooms, excellent duvets to keep us warm. There are hot water bottles that go in your bed at night, and there is also water provided. Now, while you might see WCs and a sink in the bathroom, there is no running water because the water freezes over in winter, and it is really, really, I mean, it's one of the most scarcest resources around Ladakh. So it is difficult to install a running water facility. However, the bathrooms are serviced by our staff. We have staff bringing in buckets of water as much as you like, both hot and cold water, and which we call running water because they fill it up from the tap at the back and run upstairs with it for you. So that's our version of running water for you guys. And like I mentioned, we're here at this place because the lodge does offer some fantastic wildlife viewings right in the vicinity itself. It has a lovely open courtyard up front, and we often use that as a staging ground to check out all the surrounding hills, mountains, and valleys around us, and beautiful vantage points. And we always see some sort of wildlife, including snow leopards, right there from the front yard of the lodge itself. So how does a typical day start at the Snow Leopard Lodge? So like all other safari trips, we start up at the crack of dawn. 4:30 in the morning, we head out in the cold. We head out in our open jeeps. No, I'm just joking here, folks. It is actually a very, very civilized start. And unlike other safari trips, we actually have a leisure start to the day. So our spotters, a fantastic team of spotters, are actually the ones that head out early morning, and they're scanning various points, various vantage points in the area. And whilst they're doing that, you can wake up at leisure to a beverage of your choice, get yourselves organized for the day, make sure you have all your gear packed. And if there's a sighting, wildlife sighted before breakfast, then they'll radio in, and then we head out in our cars to see them and come back. But usually, if there's wildlife around the lodge, we set up chairs. There's coffee and tea served out there. You can come out, soak in those first rays of the morning light, look for wildlife around the lodge, and then have breakfast before we start our first excursion of the day. Now, speaking of which, we do have a lovely hot breakfast served to us at the lodge in the beautiful sort of lounge room, which gets really sunny and warm during the morning. So, and this is also a communal meeting place. So this is a place where we all meet, talk, discuss plans for the day, and so on. So after breakfast, usually we head out. A lot of it is based on planning and instinct and where we've seen animals before. So we head down to some spots. And one of the most important gadgets that we have with us are these scopes. Now, our spotting scopes are sort of, I think, the most essential, apart from warm underwear, I think the most essential part of the snow leopard trip, and it's become synonymous with us and our guests, so much so that the locals now begin to recognize wildlife travelers because of the spotting scopes we carry with us, and sometimes they get in on the action as well, as you can see. So we usually start by scoping out the areas around us, and then, like I said, we head down to our spots. And again, this trip is possible only because of a fantastic team of spotters that we have with us. They have the most amazing instinct for wildlife of the region, and that is backed by some of the best eyesight I've seen on anyone. There is actually a study from what I read a few years ago, and they actually have a different eyesight from what most of us have. So they are really in tune for distant vision, and they're able to see things way before you even see them. So without them, this trip is not possible. It's not complete. It's not possible without them. And so we rely on them. We trust them, and they're a fun bunch of guys to get to know as well. And you will get to know them by the end of the trip as well. So a shout out to our spotters there, all of them local guys, trained, love wildlife, and I'm very eager to show them to you. Now, apart from just standing around and spotting, which we are going to do a lot of, sometimes if we have to wait for animals, there is also an option of hiking as well. There are places where we will sometimes have to hike, and there are places where hiking is a choice. For those of you who say, well, I need to get some exercise in, we have the flexibility to accommodate that. For those of you who say, well, I actually can't walk, I'm not like I used to be, well, then there's the option of getting there by car as well. But there will be some situations, and again, those situations, when they arise, your EL will talk to you about it. But there may be a situation where you will have to hike or to see, maybe the visibility is not clear, it's around a bend somewhere, but we will talk to you, we will discuss. There are ways in which we can do this. We have immense amount of support on the ground. We work with a fantastic team of people, and there's often, 2 support staff to 1 guest in many places. So we have ways of solving problems there. And I'm telling you this so you don't have to worry. If hiking is one of your worries, don't worry about it. Speak to your adventure specialist before you leave. They will pass information on to us. And when you're here, speak to your EL as well, and we'll figure it out. Hiking can vary, and again, this is up to you. For those of you who want to do optional hikes, we can do a couple of miles. For those of you who just want to walk a couple of 100 yards, stretch your legs, get the whole engine running and come back, that's also there. The longest hike we've ever done, I think, was about maybe 2.25 miles. That was our very first season. That's the picture you're looking at here. But this, we walked along a valley. There were no steep inclines or declines, but it was along a valley, and we had got there to see this mother and cubs of snow leopard who were on an ibex kill, and I'll show you the video at the end of it. But that's the longest hike I think we did, and it was towards the end of the trip, and everyone was up and ready, already acclimatized, and we went in with full support staff, everything, to get to this hike, and everyone did it. So we have a lot, speaking of support, we have a lot of vehicular support. We are never too far away from our cars and vans, and when we leave for the day, we are often equipped. We carry everything with us, from tea, coffee, snacks, extra chairs to sit down, all our gear, everything is loaded at the back, and we leave for the day, because we play everything by ear, and that ear is always in tune with nature and wildlife and how it manifests itself. So we have the flexibility to make certain calls, and when we are out during the day, if we need sort of a meal brought to us, the lodge is very, very accommodating and will bring a meal to us and meet us wherever we are. We have this beautiful alfresco lunch or tea set up while enjoying nature, so we don't have to waste time getting back to the lodge just for a meal. So it is a modular plan. It is a very flexible plan. We try and spend as much time out exploring as possible, and sometimes that exploration can be on foot, and sometimes that exploration means sitting and waiting for the animal to appear. And for all of you who have been out on nature holidays, you know we have to wait for wildlife. And where in the subcontinent, especially the snow leopard trip, you're not always surrounded. There is a lot of wildlife to be seen, but you're not always surrounded by wildlife like an African savanna. You have to work for it, but working for it can be very, very rewarding as well. And apart from just the waiting for an animal to show itself, it's also the vastness and the sort of uh, the sort of the scale of things in this area can be sometimes getting used to it can sometimes be a little trying. It takes a couple of days to get your eye in, and also, well, a couple more to get your head wrapped around that. And this is again just to give you an idea of scale. This landscape, and like I said, it's not in a national park or an area, but it's still a very, very vast landscape. There's jagged peaks, there's rolling sort of undulations, there are deep valleys, there are river systems. There's all of these happening in an area, and it can be hard to see. And so sometimes you're actually looking at little specks, on the top of a ridge line, which you can only see through scopes of binoculars. And sometimes, just the eye and brain coordinating with that can be difficult, which is why we spend a lot of time out there trying to get ourselves used to it. So when that actual sighting happens of an animal, it can be, we pick it up like that, and it can be very, very rewarding. So we have this. This is again just to illustrate, where we are and where sometimes we have to look at wildlife. But again, not all wildlife is going to be far away. We will be seeing. We do get pictures. We do get viewings, sightings of animals a lot closer as well. But this is just to give you an idea of how things can be sometimes. And apart from the vastness of things, I think a lot of time we also struggle with, and myself included, when you go at the beginning of the season, it does take some time to get adjusted, is the texture of things. Now, it might look all brown or all white everywhere, but it is texturally heavy. And sometimes, and understanding the scale, especially if you're looking through binoculars, you don't know how big the rock is, and you have no reference. So when someone says, look between those two rocks, there you see the leopard walking, you're like, which two rocks? So, how big, or even if I see the two rocks, how big is this animal? And there's going to be a lot of those chats, and we often laugh about it as well on the trip. And but yeah, here's the thing to see. Can anyone spot the snow leopard here? All right. Does that help? If you're still struggling, I'm going to zoom it in for you. Do you see it now? How about now? All right. So it does take a little getting used to, and I mean, I've used this footage and some of the ones you'll see later purposefully as well. They're not the best. They're not the most edited or footage at all, and it's there just to give you an idea of what sometimes wildlife viewing is like. But we take, not only do we make the best chances, but we also use some of the best equipment in the field as well for it. We have really good state-of-the-art spotting scopes with us with excellent optics. We also use adapters and phones, iPads as well, which we can latch onto the scope, which makes better viewing. And a lot of people, and this is the feedback we've been getting through the seasons as well, a lot of people actually find it easier to look through it. So if you're someone who says, well, my eyesight's not what it used to be, and I struggle sometimes to find things, excuse me, This sometimes works really best. And we have multiple scopes. So often we will have a scope dedicated with a phone on it for those of you who want to have a slightly less strenuous viewing of it. And of course, we make plenty of recordings and we make plenty of pictures. We swap phones, so it'll all be shared, so you will get the wildlife that you have seen. I'll just like to just sidetrack a little bit from the day's events into, let's talk about equipment for a bit. Now we've got questions of, should I bring binoculars? And I want to touch upon this in this session as well. Yes, binoculars are a handy tool to have. I never leave home without them. 8x42s generally are the most sort of easy on the eyes. They work, especially if you're someone who's going to go out and invest in them for the first time. Look for brands such as Zeiss or Vortex, or if you can afford a pair of Swarovskis. These are really the best. 8x42s kind of work well. If you want a higher magnification, it'll never go amiss in Ladakh. 10x42s or 10x50s. If you're a birder, they work really well too. And an important thing to have with your binoculars is this handy body harness. I highly recommend this because this sort of goes on your body as so, and it actually takes off a lot of stress from your neck, and very, very comfortable viewing, hangs low, especially if you've got bulky gear on. This is great. You can expand them and it will fit perfectly. And especially if you're going to be out the whole day, a body harness is really great way to go. And it takes a little bit getting used to, but you can go on. But it can be worn multiple ways as well, especially if you're wearing a really thick puffy jacket. And yeah, so invest in a pair of binoculars. If you have a pair, great, bring it along. You will not find it go amiss. In terms of photography gear, we've had questions as well. Is what is the best camera to bring? I say two things. No matter how big your lens is, Ladakh always makes you feel inadequate. It's always going to be, oh, I wish I brought that extender, or I wish I got this. And we've had people with 1200 mm lenses also saying, yes, okay, well, if you got the big lenses, bring it. But if you have a smaller camera, you will find there's plenty of other subjects as well to take pictures of. Two, I use a micro four thirds system. I have a 400 mm lens on this, which gives me an 800 reach as well. And I'm very happy with the results I get in this camera. I resist putting an extender. I might do it this season, I don't know, just to check it out and see how it works. But I'm very happy with this. You just have to work with, framing your shots well, and it's also just light enough to carry. But if you have the big lens, by all means, please bring it. I'm also assuming that if you have a big lens, you want to take one of our Photo Pro departures. We have we have one extra day on that, and we also have bigger luggage allowances on that trip to accommodate the heavy gear and that everything that comes with it. So there is a photo departure option as well, Photo Pro departure option as well for this trip. And you can talk to your adventure specialist about certain specifics about that as well. One thing that we found works very well is an iPhone or an adapter. Phone adapters for scopes are very, very easy to come by in the States. So I would recommend, even if you don't have a scope, if you want to shell out 50 or 100 bucks for an adapter, so you can fit it to your phone and leave it there. So that makes our job easier to swap it. Go ahead. They're available, B&H, they're available on Amazon. There's some quite nifty adapters available if you think you're going to use them later as well. So and they work fantastically well. I'll show you some footage coming right up really. So this is a iPhone on a scope. It's not the best light. Again, this is not, I have not touched up the video, no post processing except for just cutting it, so no edits. And this is to show you as raw as an image as you would get. Spot the snow leopard, anyone? All right, let's go. Everything included, including the camera shake. That was just me and my cold hands at the end of it. But if you see, most of your imagery is actually very, very clear towards the center of the scope, of course. And we try to, that's how we try and get our footage, everything in the center. It does blur off a little bit as it gets to the corners, but that's just the, the lens doing its thing. But the center really stays in focus. And these phones, I mean, the phones nowadays have some brilliant features which we can use as well. So that's the adapter and a scope, and you get some wonderful images as well. Speaking of which, let's talk about the wildlife that we might hope to see on this trip. Yes, some fur and feathered kinds, and some not so much. One of the most common animals you'll see there, or common birds you'll see there, the chukar partridge. Extremely cute, superb little plump birds, often greet you every morning and every evening, and they're outside our lodge as well. They're lovely to take pictures of. They're actually, and this is where, if you have things like, smaller lens, it's just wonderful to walk around and handhold and take pictures of all these other wildlife that's around you. And they're quite a pretty bird when you get them in focus and get them in a frame. And you can have a lot of fun taking chukar partridge. Ibex is one of the most common animals we actually see around the lodge because of the rocky slopes. Now this is a mountain goat. They're massive. Can grow to about 200 odd pounds at least, and the big males with the scimitar shaped horns, and we'll often see herds of ibex around these craggy slopes. The other ungulates there are the bharal, or the blue sheep. They call the blue sheep because they have, as they mature, they have these patches of blue on their body. Different shaped horns again, so that's another ID to look for them. The silhouette looks very, very different. They're slightly taller than the ibex, but not as heavy. And we see them again in herds as well. Another fantastic bird to see is the ibis bill. They're almost, well, it's hard to see in this picture, but it's this gray bird. It looks just like another river rock, but it has this coral red beak. Probably just a few hundred that exist in the wild. A bird that we don't know much about. We don't know where it is, where it comes from, but they like the Himalayan river systems. They migrate and come downwards, and often to the same spot. But so truly special bird to get on this trip. We also have the red sheep. Again, like the bharal, but they have a more reddish tan coat with them. The picture here is a young kid, but the big males also have a big set of horns that grow as well. And you'll often see them down near the river. They're only found in the Indus Valley, which makes them particularly vulnerable, and you don't find them anywhere else in the world. So this is a special animal to be seen in Ladakh as well. Another fantastic thing to see is the wolves. Last season, we've had some fantastic sightings of this pack of wolves around Mangyu Lodge. Again, very hard to see, one of the most elusive animals. But so when we get them, it's quite special. It's wonderful. We'll often hear them howling sometimes early morning or late night. Fantastic animal to see. The other canid around is the red fox, also quite visible around habitation. They like to live around humans, so you'll see them sometimes coming in the farms and the fields at night. We set up a camera trap, a trail camera out at the lodge in the evening, and often, almost certainly every day, you'll see a red fox out in the front yard. So they like habitation. They like scrounging around, scavenging for things, and all of that around there. So, but very, very, I mean, I like foxes. It's so cute. I just like to see foxes. And of course, the draw of the whole lot is the snow leopard. It is a fantastic animal to see. We've had some great sightings. Of course, I say this that nothing is guaranteed in this sort of scheme of things, but we've had some fantastic sightings with snow leopards the past seasons. So, and here's a video of one that I'll show you. So that was from our very, very first snow leopard trip that we ran here, and this was a mother and two cubs, and she had killed an ibex, and the ibex about 3 times her weight. And this was in the valley, and it was seen by one of our spotters, and so we had to follow the valley. And like I mentioned earlier, this was a hike that we did to see up, and it was absolutely fantastic. I think we spent about an hour and a half at least looking at these magnificent animals and just doing the thing, absolutely not worried about our presence. We just sat there and watched them. But of course, all of this wildlife watching is possible only if you're comfortable. And to get comfortable, there is certain requirements that are needed. And I'd like to use this session again because I think there's nothing like quite having a visual, no matter what you read in the brochures or what you read in the thing. Like having an actual visual helps you prepare. And so I like to use this time to talk to you about some of the kit that we use on this trip. So being physically prepared is paramount for this program, for this trip. If you're someone who is regularly exercises, great. If you're someone who needs to do that, well, I would say a little bit of cardio will not go amiss again. So just get used to walking a little bit, moving around, do a little bit of cardio in preparation for this trip, and that's all. That's really, you don't really need to do the ultra marathons or any of that stuff. It's not going to be that strenuous, but well, if you want to exercise, go for it. But for this trip, a little bit of exercise does actually help work. But let's get on to clothing and gear. All right, my most important thing, which I say everyone should pack, is a decent set of long underwear. All right, I'm going to switch my camera a little bit here just to give you, so I can move out a bit, and I hope you can still hear me. I'm going to speak into the microphone, but I want to show you. Okay, so long underwear, best. Now you get them in fleece, you get them in merino wool as well. Of course, I would say when you're picking up merino wool, please look for labeling. Please look that they've been responsibly sourced, and that's what I like about fleece is that a lot of them are also recycled. So you're doing a bit for your environment as well while you're being responsible in sourcing your thing. Long underwear, a couple of pairs will generally help because this, especially if you're traveling between December and February, you will need them almost all of the time. So get a few extra pairs. Your pre-departure booklet will give you a suggested number of what to do, not just the tops, but the bottoms as well. Now, these long underwear actually pair well with long sleeve fleece shirts. Now, I like them as well because they're breathable, they stay warm, they're long sleeves, and they're light. And the best part is that, most of the polyester fleece that is available does not retain odor. So, well, if you're in the lodge for 5 days, I'm just saying, there's other people around. So, these things work really, really well. Pair them up, and they're good for just hanging around in the lodge as well. So when you're not out, when you're not in the outdoors and you don't have those extra layers, these long sleeve fleece shirts are actually very, very comfortable to hang out in the lodge. Another thing which I really like, and this is sort of my go-to for almost all trips, is I like these sort of half sort of fleece jackets. Patagonia makes some amazing ones. They're there on our gear store on the website. You can check them out. These are like super comfortable. I like my arms staying a little cold, but my core always stays warm. And these things work wonderfully well. Just to put a, if you pair this up on top with a down jacket, sometimes, like a light down like this. And these are again fantastic Patagonias. They scrunch up into nothing at all, and speak to the gear specialist at NatHab and they can set you up with them. Wonderful. So just this combination actually helps quite a bit for if you're moving around, because your body also generates heat. Uh, and so, as long as your core stays warm, and if you're someone who says, well, I can handle the cold, just this and a down jacket, for me, that works for most of the day. Of course, there are times of the day, and this is where we have to be prepared for. There's the season change, and then there's also times of the day where things change a lot. So early mornings are generally quite cold, and then once you're out during the day, when you're sitting up in the sun, you want to take off the layers. So layering is key, and the layers you have on is important. But there are times of the day, like I said, especially in the afternoons, there's usually a breeze, almost a wind sometimes, that blows up the Indus Valley, and that can get quite cold. And that's when you need a big heavy jacket. So make sure you get a nice windproof jacket. If it has lining inside, great. Most of these jackets have a nice Gore-Tex with fleece inside, or a down parka also works. So parka, thick material outside, but insulation on the inside. And if you're coming in March or April, again, this is a personal choice. I prefer just getting a thin windproof layer on top of my fleece and down, and then that works perfectly well. It's also much lighter to stay, and it's just easier for that weather. But if you're in midwinter, make sure you've got multiple layers on, nothing like down. And as you can see from all our lovely gentlemen, our team here, everyone likes a good down jacket. Of course, it's also very important to keep your extremities protected. If you're someone like me with luscious locks and a beautiful headline, hairline, you need to keep your head warm, not just warm, but also sunburn. So Ladakh has a very high UV index. So you have to slather on that sunscreen, bring copious quantities of sunscreen, especially for your exposed areas of your face and your head and so on. The worst sunburn I've had, and this is coming after living on the coast for most of my life, tropical coast, the worst sunburn I've had is in Ladakh. So sunscreen is very important. A warm hat and gloves as well. I like these gloves as my more, again, go-to gloves. These are nice ragwool gloves, but for someone who uses binoculars, cameras, and well, just generally like fidgeting a lot with things, I like the fingers free because it helps me work, and I just find it a lot easier with fingers on. So half gloves are perfect, but these are fantastic because they've got fold over mittens. So if you're standing for a long time, you've got your camera set up and you're looking at the snow leopard and your hands are getting cold, fingertips are getting cold, these things work very well too. Also, if you have windproof gloves, they also work excellent. These are my other favorite pair, which I like to use. These are just fleece, but they're knitted close together. Inside is fleece, and the outside is windproof. So these are very light gloves, and so you have finger movement. It operates a phone. Most importantly, look for gloves that have you can use a touchscreen phone with. They're super handy, so you don't have to take them off to move your screen. So they'll have a little emblem here. Most of the gloves, if you can see, it's a little circle. Look for that. You can operate your phone with it because you will be taking pictures of things. So that, and combined with some nice walking shoes, Boots are nice. Ankle support is always good because the terrain is rough. If you can get insulated boots, perfect. And a couple of socks, nice warm woolen socks. Again, merino works well. Smart wool is another nice one to use as well. So a couple of layers of socks will work. So, and we have opportunities to keep changing them on and off. So that's it about kit. Again, if you have more questions, I would say speak to your adventure specialist. Our pre-departure booklet is so great at spelling everything out. The team at the office has done a fantastic job at preparing that booklet. So go through them, make sure you packed anything, and if you have any questions, any queries, you can reach out to us. All right. That's it for me and my talking for now. And so again, I hope I covered all of those questions, but I think what you'll see next will probably help give you that little bit of reassurance. There's a couple of interviews which I took in our very first season from two of our wonderful travelers who traveled with us for the Snow Leopard Lodge. I'm just going to show you a quick video of their thoughts and reflections of the trip.
Oh man, where do I start? Just seeing, I think seeing the animals, you can't compare it to Africa because Africa, they're wandering around, but it's more meaningful and special because the animals there's less of them and you have to be patient. But when you do see them, it's much more of a wow experience.
The thing I think is so impactful is the diversity of the landscape. I came with a vision of it being snow-capped mountains, all consistent. And this is every place you look, it changes immediately from rock to sand to different types of rock to snow, all of that. And so there's a beauty of it and majesty that I really didn't expect. And then we saw the snow leopard on our very first day and could watch it walking across the tops of the mountains. So it was really spectacular.
All of the people are extremely kind, extremely gentle, very polite, very respectful. And, they live in these really tough conditions where, the temperatures can be extreme, but they are very supportive of each other. They're very welcoming. It really can't get any better.
From someone that comes from the flatlands of Florida, it was a little bit challenging for me to breathe the altitude. I just took it slow, and the team members, no one pressured me or made me feel like I was going too slow. I just took my time, and I was fine.
I think it's pretty well laid out by NatHab what to bring, to be aware of. So I think I wasn't surprised by anything or unprepared.
Okay, that's good. All right, I'd like to wrap up here, folks, and turn it back over to you. I hope we're able to address some of your thoughts and questions that you had for the trip, and hopefully shed a little more light if you're thinking of doing this trip in the near future. So with this thing, Rob, I'd like to hand it back over to you to hear from our viewers if they have any questions or anything they want to share or ask us. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Now, before we start with the question and answer session, I would like to remind everyone that you can submit your questions via the question field in your control panel. So let's talk about the altitude a little bit. Will there be oxygen available in the lodges in case I need a little boost?
Yes, we do. So we have oxygen available at every single place we have, and in fact, we even carry it with us on the first day, and we also gauge people to see how they are. So we have meters which we'll gauge, and so in case someone's feeling a little breathless, anything of that sort, we gauge that first, and then we have oxygen right there. Now, the option is there in case someone is there, but on that note, moving further, so what we have, and which is why this trip is so, it's designed to be modular. In case someone is feeling unwell or slightly out of sorts, the only remedy for this, or the first workable remedy for this, is actually to descend in altitude. So what we usually do is, if we head up to the lodge, Snow Leopard Lodge, for instance, and you're not feeling great, then you have the chance of heading back to Leh, staying a day, and then coming back once you recuperated. And of course, we have the better medical facilities in Leh. The Leh has great hospitals, army hospitals, that deal, and doctors who know what they're talking about there. The lodge, we do not have medical facilities. However, your EL is a trained first responder, and we know how to deal with this. So in terms of an evacuation plan, we will head back to Leh, check yourselves out with the doctor, with a trained medical professional there, with the hospital, and then take a call on what needs to be done. So yes, that we have it on demand.
Great, thank you so much for covering that. So, what is the altitude in Leh, and will we have a chance to wander around town when we are there?
So Leh is about 11,500 feet. So it's seriously high, and we are also flying into that area. So on the first day, no matter how much you're itching to go or raring to go, the first day is like a strict, it's like lockdown rules, folks. It's like you stay in the hotel, you're allowed to probably do one flight of stairs, but walking from your room to the restaurant is all that you're going to be doing. We will have a chance. It's a fantastic town to explore, and but we will have a chance when we come back from our lodge. We spend one more night in Leh before we head back out to Delhi. So that evening, we promise to take you around the market. We'll show you the mosque. We'll show you some of the monasteries there. We'll do a little bit of local shopping and look around Leh town. But that's for when we come back, and we definitely do not want to push it on day one itself. So walking around in the premises of the hotel only on day one. Yes.
Got that. Thank you. So, how warm is the lodge when we get to it?
Very warm. Well, did you say warm, Rob? Sorry.
I sure did. Are we going to be warm in there?
We're going to be very, very warm. In fact, the only complaint that we get from the lodge is it's too warm. We have multiple sources of heating. So the general lounge area has this wooden wood fire stove. It's called a stove, but it's actually a heater. It's a local it's a local design. They call it the rocket stove. It takes a little bit of wood, but it disseminates heat very, very effectively. So it's built in that style, and all the rooms have the stove. Plus, we also have an electric heater. Plus, there's also those really warm duvets, and there's hot water bottles. So in the lodge, when you're walking around, the common areas have heating, and your rooms are heated as well. In fact, we ask a lot of our guests to crack the window a little bit open in the night because it can get really, really warm.
That's good to know as well. Thank you. What about visiting nearby villages? Will we have the opportunity to visit other places?
Yes, we do. There are times where, as you know, with a lot of wildlife viewing, there are sort of quiet moments out in nature where nothing is happening. Or for instance, say we've just got a sudden snowfall, or moments like this where maybe it's overcast. There are sometimes quiet where you don't see a lot. And during the times we will, and this is where we're constantly planning to have something engaging and to have something to do on the trip. But our village, so Mangyu village, where we are actually staying, is very, very interesting in itself. We have been invited to people's houses, and which we have taken the invitation. There is a 1,000-year-old temple just like 50 meters of walk from our lodge, which we will take you there and show you some of the earliest Buddhist paintings. There are prayer wheels to walk to. There are people go and chat to. So there's all these little things that are there around that area as well. We've had in the past, we've done sessions in the lodge itself when it's snowing and we couldn't go out, but our staff have been very happy to show or give us some cooking lessons, and or just sit around and talk. So we've had things. There are a lot of things to do, and of course our first and emphasis always is on the wildlife. But we do acknowledge, we do know, and there are times where we'll take breaks as well. If there's a local festival happening, we'll sort of pop on over and check it out. So there's lots of other opportunities to do things as well, and we'll constantly be telling you about it.
So should we plan to bring a yak tracks or a similar device?
You'll have to explain what yak tracks are. I'm not very familiar with it. Are they like sort of snowshoes?
I believe that is what the question is referring to. Yes.
Okay. Oh, well, generally, no. There's not going to be a lot of opportunity to go trudging around in the snow. Plus, it's an extra bit of kit. If I think what it is, I've seen what are they called again? Crampons. Sort of flexible, sort of small little things that stretch and go over your boots. I carry a pair in my back. In fact, I leave a pair up there in case I need to go out in the morning and check out something. Then I use it because you'll only need it when the road is iced up, and most of the roads get cleared very quickly, very fast. And there's actually not a lot of walking that's required on snow. And even when there's snowfall, it's the precipitation in Ladakh is actually very, very low. So when there's snowfall, it's a quick, light, powdery snow, as you can see in this image here in front of us. So if you have gaiters or waterproof shoes with good grip, it's usually more than enough for what is required at that time.
Great, thank you. So can you talk about the scope for a second? What is the magnification of the spotting scope?
So our spotting scopes go to about 60x, so that's 60 times magnification. So that's serious. So that's about 6 times more than what these can do. So it is quite good. We use it a lot. Often we use it on the lower end of magnification because it increases our field of view. And yeah, that's more than enough for what we've seen out there.
And what is the average distance that will be from the snow leopards?
This varies quite a lot. This varies. Sometimes we're looking at a distant view, sort of on a ridge line that's maybe 2.5, 3 miles away. Sometimes we've had snow leopards cross right in front of our car, in front of us on the main road while driving up to the lodge, and everything in between, of course. So it really depends. Of course, we are taking the best chances to see them all the time. But yeah, so there is no definitive answer to this. We can see them a mile away, and we can see them, right at the lodge itself sometimes.
So is it possible to extend the stay at the lodge or even in Leh?
You'll have to speak to your adventure specialist for this, because we have, like I said, it's a private lodge that we use for the trip, and we have groups coming in and out, much like like what we do with the polar bear tundra lodge there. So there is a rotation of it in case, but again, I think if someone wants to increase their chances and you want to do a couple of extra days, I would say if we have back-to-back trips, if there's a possibility, speak to your adventure specialist. We have ways. There are a lot of trips also, other trips apart from snow leopards as well, which can connect well to this trip if you want to go and see tigers or rhinos, any of that sort. So we have multiple trips happening around the same time across India and in Ladakh as well. So speak to your adventure specialist, and we'll be happy to accommodate and put something together if it's possible. Yes.
Great, thanks, Conan. Unfortunately, that will be the last question that we do have time for today. So I'd like to hand it back to you for some closing comments.
Thank you. So I'd just like to say thank you to everyone for tuning in and asking in your questions. It's lovely to hear from you, and I like to have this little bit of interaction and feedback when we talk about it. But yes, it is a fantastic trip. It's a lovely landscape to be in, and if you've decided to come over, I look forward to seeing you here. And if you're someone who's thinking of coming over, please do. You're welcome to this part of the world, and we love to have you over. So thank you everyone for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Conan, thank you so much for taking the time to present for us today. And I'd also like to thank everyone who tuned in today. Now, if you are interested in information on how you can travel with NatHab, please give us a call at the number on your screen, or you can send us an email at info@nathab.com. Our adventure specialists are happy to help you out. Join us tomorrow for our next Daily Dose of Nature. You can check out this week's lineup, including registration links, on our website at nathab.com/webinars. We did record today's presentation, and we will have the replay available on our website soon. With that, I will conclude today's webinar. Goodbye, everybody. We will see you next time.